Hey everyone, I'm Rick Subel. I'm here with my friend Jeannine Ford from Tarpon Springs High School in Tarpon Springs, Florida. And I'm lucky enough to be able to work with Jeannine, but more importantly, I get to observe how Jeannine and her husband Kevin Ford, build and sustain this incredible program, and how they do it from the beginner level all the way up to advanced levels, giving these students an opportunity to grow and flourish, but to also approach some, really challenging programs and challenging skills, and how they just do what they do, and how they're able to do what they do. So, yeah, we're gonna have a fun little conversation, and Jeannine, you're gonna share everything you know about everything to everyone. But seriously, no, I hope that something from this conversation will be able to help people to look at some things in a different perspective, and to help grow their programs as well. So thanks for being here today.
Of course, thank you so much. And thank you, WGI, and Rick, thank you for all that you do here at Tarpon, and just WGI as a whole. You're such a valuable resource to me and the staff here. And I just feel like, you're just, you embody what WGI is all about. So I'm very thankful to have this opportunity to have this conversation with you.
Thanks, Jeannine. So, I guess for starters, when I think of any program, it support and where you get support comes from builds the foundation of what you're able to do with your program. So, I know that you get tremendous support from parents, you get tremendous support from the school administration, from the other faculty at the school, obviously from the leadership of the band organization, to just the overall community in general. And so I know that you've been at Tarpon for a long time. It wasn't always that way. But as you've kind of built those foundational supports in and around that community, what are some tips for starting that, and gaining that support, and how overall important that is?
Well, I think it's a huge, actually, in our success. We've been fortunate enough, I should say, to have always had a strong support system here at the administration level. I know that with other programs, there's issues getting within the gym, there's issues with the understanding of why color guard is such an important thing for young men and women at the high school level. WGI as our community, we feel like it gives the students such self-worth, and it gives them leadership development, discipline, really helps with the physical fitness, team collaboration. There's so many great entities that we know WGI and Color Guard provides for young men and women. However, not always the case at the administration level. So we've had to educate our administrators, and through the process of Kevin and I being here for so many years, they've been able to see us build the students from the inside out. We run a leadership conservatory. So on top of every class that you take for color guard and band, you also take a leadership class. And I feel like that is one of the most amazing classes, or one of the most amazing things that we can provide for a high school student. It is based off of the 7 habits of highly effective teenagers. We talk a lot about beginning with the end in mind, making scenarios a win-win versus win-lose. So just making the color guard program goal orientated, but also making sure that we're thinking about building them as individuals, as humans, and better yet, as team members. So administration, strong support there, community involvement, really important. We do a lot of spirit nights and community nights. We do Friday parent performances. We encourage all of the community to come out to that, the teachers to come out to that as well. I feel like that's a great tool for anybody. The thing with having the teachers be involved is they're able to see on a daily basis. The students come in and they're hyped over what happened this weekend, whether it be a competition or a Saturday program day, or Saturday putting the show together. So they come in on a Monday and they're talking to their teachers about what they did over the weekend. And, sometimes the students are a little bit tired, or, they're a little lackluster in their classes. Now the teacher knows, oh, okay, well, that they were at a design camp or they were at a competition. So, sometimes they're able to be a little lenient with that student in their classes that day. But back to the parent performances, the students are, performing for their teachers. The teachers are able to see, wow, this is what that student is so passionate about. This is what they work towards. And they're able to see in real time how successful the student is, not only in their classes, but also at their extracurricular activity. So I feel like that's a good resource for us here as well. We started a Pageantry Arts Honor Society. Really proud of that initiative. We felt that, or I felt that that was an important thing, because we were losing students at the junior senior level due to AP classes, certain requirements that they would have for the college assessments. Some of the colleges here in Florida require you to take certain AP classes. I'm sure that's nationwide, but the students were having to drop out of the color guard classes because they were not able to sustain the guard class as well as some of the AP classes or the Cambridge classes. So I feel like the Pageantry Arts Honor Society gives them a more, hold on, let me think of, um,
Legitimacy or
yeah, thank you. More, it legitimizes our art form. It legitimizes that not only are these students excelling in their academic classes, but on top of that rigorous schedule, they also have these other things that they're doing on top of and maintaining still, again, that well-rounded student. So I think that that was one of the initiatives that we took in creating that honor society.
it's almost like outside of rehearsal, there's still so much more education happening about like the benefits of what it means to be involved in it. I see how many Tarpon parents are there helping out, and you can kind of see that they know what this program gives their students beyond just the fun of learning the skills or learning the shows or whatever, but just the sort of lifelong character building things. And I think like when you mentioned that about the other teachers, having a lot of interaction with them and them knowing what it was, I think back to years ago when I was primarily a scholastic director and trying to recruit for the program. And a new student told me, well, I asked my math teacher about what this color guard flyer was about, and they didn't even know what it was. And it hit me like a ton of bricks that it's like, well, if the community doesn't feel like it knows what it is or gives leans into the respect of what that is as a legitimate experience for that kid, then the student's probably going to be a little questionable about, is this something I really want to do? So that as a foray into that, beyond the education of administration or community and having that community involvement and just constantly being a presence where other people can see the benefits of what the program offers, what like what is your recruiting like what is that plan, how much do you go out to bring it back in, and what's that
Well,
like?
I did want to touch on one thing that you just said. So we're talking about administration and, the camaraderie between Kevin and I and our admit. But we did have to educate the guidance counselors on what color guard is. And I feel like through those parent performances and through the Pageantry Arts Honor Society, that was something where they could say, hey, on top of all of these other things, it's also something that's going to give them that uh, that one more credit or that one more accreditation that could get them into some of the colleges that they aspire to be a part of. But as far as recruitment, and I think that's what everybody struggles with. We started an elementary school program, really proud of that this year. We thought that we would be able to do that one day a week. We were hoping that we would have maybe 25 students that would be interested in that. Really proud of the fact that we have two programs going now. So they're 60 strong over at Sunset Hills Elementary School. It's on the same campus as Tarpon. So we do have some of the students from here go over there. They're able to partner with them. It's a peer mentoring program. What's amazing is, and Rick, I'm sure you remember back in the day, James Logan, when they were able to just, sisters and brothers and cousins and everybody being a part of that whole building of James Logan. So we modeled the program, I think, very similar to how they did that. And, it's worked out really well. We have our first parent performance on February, I think it's the 28th, which will be amazing because it will be from third grade all the way up until, the World Guard performing for each other.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, like I said, I'm super excited about that. But, it also is one of those things where we're teaching uh, some of the students that we're teaching right now, we've known them since the sixth grade. They've been a part of that middle school program. So sixth grade all the way up until 12th grade. Now those kids are giving back to the organization and teaching over at the elementary school. And then like you were saying, those are the same students who are doing DCI and a part of, now that they're older and have graduated, a part of Paramount or a part of Tampa Independent and all of those independent World Guards. So just kind of full circle.
That is really cool to see, and even in my time at Tarpon, to see students who've come through the program who are now back teaching the program.
Mhm.
I've done some like clinics and things where in areas where people would ask the question like, hey, how do we build the staff when we're so remote and we don't have it, we don't live in an area that naturally attracts like these higher educated color guard performers or talent. And it's like, well, you train those kids to be teachers. You train within the program for them to be leaders within the program to then come back around and to be teachers within that program. And that's been really cool to see you all build that at Tarpon as well.
Yeah, I mean, considering I think we have a staff of maybe six people and they're in charge of the elementary school, middle school, high school. Um, so we are a very small staff, but fortunate to have the people who believe in the program enough to give back. So,
Knowing the
um,
knowing the importance of like starting students that early, I mean, obviously you're able to have a more long-term vision of them getting to that senior level of skill and talent and ability. But more importantly, like how do you manage all that, like among the staff, and how do you delineate who is taking the leadership role in this ensemble or that ensemble? Like how do you manage all of those different ensembles from the middle elementary all the way up?
well, I think that a comprehensive first and foremost, like a comprehensive goal. So I think I'm just kind of like thinking through all of that. So I think one, me finding Chrissy Hobby has been a great thing, and she's been able to really take a lot of the responsibilities of the arts ensemble. That's our JV team, and it's been hard for me to trust, but just being able to see what she's able to do. She's an incredible educator, which is really important. That she's not just a clinician. She's somebody that again has a vision and a goal. We start with a goal for all of the ensembles, and she's able to create those daily incentives in order for them to reach their weekly goal, which of course creates a monthly goal, which then of course creates all of the what we again call a success plan. So Chrissy's been just insurmountable in making all of that happen. But I think just from all of the ensembles, if we all start with the same technical approach, whether or not they're able to successfully create or successfully achieve that goal, we know what that looks like. Starting the training process with a clear vision of what our desired outcome is one of the things that I think that all of the staff has. And then trying to effectively tailor the curriculum to meet whatever that grade level or that age level or skill level is. And then just making sure that that aligns with our long-term objectives. And in that, every day creating some sort of a leadership responsibility as well, because at the end of the day, we are a leadership conservatory first, and then color guard, dance, and music program second. So on a daily basis, we have a quote on the board. We talk about that quote, how that relates to color guard, how that relates to them as a person in whatever grade level they're in. High school, even the elementary school, they're doing the quotes on the walls. And then how we can relate that to family, how we can relate that to the team. And then adapting successful models. So looking at somebody who's a sixth grader and then, trying to look at them as an eighth grader, ninth grader, 10th grader, and looking at where we think those skill levels should be and trying to, I guess, create like a pathway of success to get them from that elementary, middle, and now high school level. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, obviously it makes sense on the surface to say, well, if a student starts in elementary school, they're able to start at such a comfortable beginner level. They're never outside of their comfort zone, and they're always feeling sort of a daily success about that involvement.
Mhm.
And they grow into this next phase where they're challenged a little bit more. And then they finally get into this high school stage where they're able to be super challenged with, higher demand and whatnot. You know, so in that sort of idealistic approach from a training holistic standpoint, um, what happens when a student comes later and maybe is behind?
Well,
If someone comes and didn't get started in middle school, how do you assimilate them into that program?
and we have that often, and I do think that having so many people in the room that are role models for you, and it's like when you're looking at you're surrounded by so much energy and so much greatness that it's hard for that not to be something that feeds your soul. We talk a lot about energy given is energy received. So I think just by, walking in the room and seeing everybody not fearing failure, but actually focusing more on success. We celebrate so much in guard class, and it's the smallest thing. We look at somebody, there's a student that we have, her name, we look at her and she's doing, the two turns and she's doing them successfully. So we're celebrating that, but yet we're also celebrating somebody doing a pop toss for the very first time. And there is no difference between our level of celebration. So I think that that's a thing. And um, allowing the student to understand that failure is part of the process is also another thing that I think. So they're not afraid of the failure. They're not afraid of I'll say looking silly in front of the rest of the group. That they know that um, there's no judgment, that we are all just basically trying to become so wonderful at this craft that we're passionate about, that it's okay for us to struggle. And in the struggle is so much success and so much support.
Yeah. It's almost like it's like how do you get a student to try something really challenging? It's not that you're trying to get them to overcome fear, you're actually trying to get them to overcome the shame of not being good at it in the first place.
Correct. And we know at middle school level, especially, that's where all it's a judgment zone. And again, that's why we started the elementary school program, because we were trying to really, um, as silly as this may sound, but we're trying to prevent any type of bullying or any type of negative shaming or anything like that. And we thought that if we could get them at the elementary school level, start teaching them artistic expression, teamwork, collaboration, performance skills, leadership development, all of those things at that level. By the time they got to elementary or middle school, again, we would hope that they would go into those situations already understanding that a lot of the times when we're in middle school, we judge others because we feel so insecure about ourselves.
Yeah. I know that, I mean, I know for me, at least the time that I get to come in, I just appreciate the environment of that because, they're able to operate maybe at a more mature level because not thinking of those failures. They're not thinking of what if I look silly, or
Mhm.
they're less bound by those prohibitors, and they're more able to explore. And I very much appreciate that. Um, and into, I when you read the leadership books or you go to the leadership training things and whatnot, the first thing is there has to be leaders in front of an ensemble that they not only like look up to or aspire to, but they believe in. So it's just really cool to see them believe in you. I think that you approach them very honestly. You're very firm and very honest. You're never cruel. You're never mean. And we there's lots of different teaching styles, but there's never an environment where someone says that very punchy comment to a student that might be taken the wrong way, or create that insecurity. Everyone is all information based. It's very structured and information based and level. There's no extreme energy. No one's ever brought up to a high level of stress level. And I just think that's such a cool safe space. So I would think that's probably one of the more foundational things for success, is to create that safe environment for learning.
And I think in all of that too is just trying to, oh, which by the way, thank you in all of that. I think the we call it the four T's, and it's technique, teachers, team, and trust. And I think that that has something that has really stuck out to me. When the students graduate, they bring themselves back to those four T's, and I think it's if you surround yourself by a great group of people who you feel like at your most vulnerable moment you can still trust. I think that that's what we say, like, the four walls of the guard space. There is no there's no judgment. And we just really try to build each other up as often as we can, build as much confidence, and approach everything with a growth mindset. And um, I was at a convention the other day, and they were talking about how um, mindset is something that is a goal, but attitude, a daily attitude creates a lifelong growth mindset. So I've just really been trying to do that. Is every day we're talking about, be the person that you want to be today, and that will slowly shape you into, who, the best version of yourself for your future.
Yeah. Kind of just backtracking through the discussion. I mean, knowing how much work you do educationally to put out into the community about the value of what this is as an option for a student to be a part of in their high school days. Um, you know, you're always participating in things, fundraising. The students are always doing performances. I think one of the earlier times I came this year, it's like, oh yeah, they had 3 performances today at 3 different schools.
Mhm.
But just, the constant education about what it is also lends the opportunity to then ask for support from the community from a financial standpoint. I think that those two things go hand in hand. So it not only, like, builds the viability of what it is as an option for a student to be a part of, but then it also allows the community to feel like they can be a part of those successes too. Whether it's they go to Macy's or they're
Correct.
successful at UGI, the community that's now supporting it also feels like it's part of that success too, which is pretty cool.
Correct. And again, community involvement is everything, and we were really fortunate to have so much support going into Macy's. And they really showed their support. We just did some tag days, and the band is performing in Colorado, so just needing some financial support to get all of the students to go there, plus World Championships. So really fortunate of the Tarpon community, and they've really uh, been such a strong support to Kevin and I ever since we've come to Tarpon.
Yeah. And again, just reminding myself that this is 20 plus years of you all growing that. Um, it's like any garden, if you want it to flourish, you've got to be disciplined and stay with it, and then constantly finding ways to do things better. And creating that positive environment. I think that's really kind of awesome and magical. And, I'm thankful to be a part of that. As we're looking into a current season, I know just like with every program, it's getting those first performances out of the way. It's trying to get the show flags on, and then we've got to get the props and the wheel. There's a broken wheel on the prop and the soundtrack right, and students
Right.
students probably juggling some injuries or just, it's everybody's kind of going through that. What are some tips that you might have to kind of keep everybody grounded, or how you keep yourself and the students grounded going through these different adversities until that hump gets, to the next part of the season?
Well, just to kind of elaborate just a little bit too, how you said, our prop team, making props and, at the school, probably as many hours as, the staff is, we're just so fortunate to have a small group of people within our, band program that are willing to do so much to make sure that we always look, professional. There's that rumor that we're sponsored by Disney, but truthfully, it's a group of individuals who day in and day out give so much time, and they're just such a valuable resource. Most of the props that we have at Tarpon are things that we've had probably for the last 15, 20 years. We do everything and we recycle everything. So, we're grateful that we have a gentleman named Jason work who's able to look at a prop and be able to take what we use for the fall and make it into whatever we use for the winter season. But as far as the students' injuries, we always talk about eh, making sure that we're feeding our body, mind, and soul, which is what we put into our bodies, making sure that as often as we can at their level, at their age, that they're able to just feed their soul, if that makes sense. So from the students, just trying to make sure that they are trying to stretch every day, making sure that we're building their physical fitness as well as their mindset. Sometimes just doing things from a mental perspective, rather than repping everything physically. So we try to imagine, hey, for right now, let's see ourselves doing this part of the show successfully rather than physically performing that part. So again, getting their mindset where it needs to be in order to sustain the season. I try to
Do
give them.
you feel like that helps with performance anxieties, the sort of
I,
mental?
I, I do. I do. I think, just a Saturday when we were lining up, getting ready for the competition, we did a lot of just like close your eyes, see yourself doing that. We do a lot of performance reps, and I think you do the same thing, Rick, is, we'll have the Sabres get out there and do a performance rep for the flags. Ever since we started doing that, I really think that they get more nervous, or that's more of a moment filled with anxiety than actually doing it in front of a larger, bigger audience. Because obviously they want the people that are on their team to see them at the highest level. And they want to feel the support of the team in those moments. So, I feel like that's one of the best things that you can do to prepare your student, for a performance, uh, an upcoming big performance or anything like that. But, as far we do talk a lot, we start, like I told you, we have a lot of quotes that are on the board that talk about the anxiety of a performer, or, the fear of performing. And, we talk about how performance is a privilege, or pressure is a privilege, and getting them to understand, like, if we can overcome this small bit of fear that you have, or this anxiety that you have, what's on the other side of that is, the energy from the audience, the energy from the group, the energy or the clap or the, standing ovation or the oohs and ahs. And, those things are worth that 1 or 2 seconds of, the anxiousness.
Yeah. It's such a weird thing, like at that age group, like they're so aware of their own flaws, they're just that teenage years in general, they're so critical of themselves, but to switch it around and to get them to actually realize that like everyone in that room wants you to do great. Like they
Mhm.
they are sharing their energy with you so you can have the best performance of your life. It's such an odd flip from what teenagers usually experience like day to day. And I think you do a great job of that in the rehearsals, but those show day things are different because you said something earlier about like to not get inspired by the fear of failure, but for the
Mhm.
joy of success is a different way of thinking about it.
Correct.
Um, so kind of winding down this, one of the things, well, I guess I was just going to add on to that too. For me, it was a joy to see them at WGI to like have gone through this whole process of like they were not scared, they were excited. They had real, honest, joyful teenage excitement about just going out and doing their thing. And I don't know, that's just such a cool thing. I think we all aspire to do that. I think sometimes even without thinking about it subconsciously, like we can project our own insecurities about success onto our students. And I think that you do such a good job of that there, of separating all of that, and you define success in a whole different way, and getting them to look at it that way, I think kind of takes a lot of that edge off, that no matter what happens, I'm going to still love you, and I'm also going to try to keep pushing you to be better. And I think that's something that you do incredibly well. um, but yeah, thanks for taking the time to share some insights and thoughts. And again, I keep just reinforcing the thought that like, what you're working with now is something that you've been investing 20 plus years of hard work and time and energy and effort. And I think like we often know the answer to it, but it's like, what does it take to make a successful program? It's hard work. It's not just hard work for the kids, but it's even more hard work for the adults. I'm always moved by just seeing all the parents there who love it just as much as their kids, and parents who come back after their kids graduate just because they love being a part of what it offers students. I think, doing the extra work to build that in a community, I think is key. Because just like with our technique programs, we know that once the foundation is set, the rest is just, what you're playing with, what you're working with. My last thought is, we often talk to designers about just the designy thoughts, but I am a designer, and as a sort of a chief technician or the general of that program, a lot of your dialogue isn't just about like skill-based technique. It's about the integration of how those goals are interwoven into the design. And like you mentioned, repurposing old props as part of the new
Mhm.
year's design. We have that discussion of, okay, what's the newest thing we can create with the oldest things we have? Uh,
Correct.
but I don't feel like it's ever separate. I feel like, at least with my experience working with you, that technical and creative go hand in hand to create the best possible choice.
Agreed, 100%. Agreed.
Yeah.
No, and I think that you said it, I think that in all of this, everything is hand in hand. And I think that what makes this such a great collaboration between, whether it be staff, students, design staff, technicians, prop administration. I think it's just, we're all holding hands and helping each other through, and creating whatever we can, um, from the design standpoint, but just creating whatever we can, as a whole, one unit, one team.
Yeah. And again, going back to something you said about just having that long-term vision about where you want it to go, what you want it to do, what you want it to speak. Everyone from designers to instructors to volunteers are working together to kind of get it there. And it's pretty cool. I'm thankful to be a part of it, but also for you to come on and share some of these tips and thoughts.
Well, thank you so much. And again, I just really appreciate, um, the environment that WGI provides for so many students. And I'm just happy to, be a small part of that.